Hello, you motorcycle enthusiasts. Today, we're going to take apart the carburetor of a Yamaha XJ650 from 1980 together. What we have here is a carburetor made by Hitachi, which is pretty rare and was only used for a short period of time. As always, I'll show you how to do this using a single carburetor. The others are built the same way, so you'll be able to handle those on your own. But before we get started, let's first take a look at what tools we'll need. We'll need a small needle nose pliers, a 10mm open-end ring spanner, and here I have a 10mm T-handle wrench, but you could also use a small ratchet with a socket. We'll need a slim drift punch, a Phillips screwdriver in size PH2, and I have a few different flathead screwdrivers here as well. Very important, today I have a flathead screwdriver bit that's 7mm wide, a 6mm Allen key, and a small, powerful flashlight is really handy here, as well as a homemade hook, specifically, a piece of wire from a paperclip bent into a small hook. You'll see later on what we need that for. One more important note, please make sure to take a quick look at the video description. If I forget to mention something or if any new information about your carburetor comes up later, I can add it there. You'll also find in the video description an email address for a professional to whom you can send your carburetor for ultrasonic cleaning. People also often ask, does the carburetor guy actually make money from this? That's the cool thing, when you buy the repair kits from the affiliate links in the video description. You support our channel in keeping it going and helping it grow. Plus, you get a shop with fast delivery and fantastic reviews. Before we really get started, let me give you some advice. Take a photo of how everything is arranged here, where each clamp, bracket, and cable holder is, and also mark the screws where a bracket has a metal plate underneath. If a bracket is screwed on, those screws are a bit longer, so later on you won't have to wonder which screw goes where. Let's start with the choke. Again, please mark or take a photo of how the parts are arranged here. The choke is operated here together on a small rotating shaft. Now we need to loosen these 4 screws. 1, 2, 3. All 4 need to be loosened. This is a set screw with a pointed tip. The tip fits into a recess on the shaft. And this screw from the control lever, where the Bowden cable is hooked in, needs to be completely unscrewed because it's quite long and goes all the way through the shaft. It's one of those small, long ones. And as I said, the other 4 just need to be loosened. And once you've successfully done that, you can then carefully pull out this main actuator shaft, and of course, you'll need to collect these small levers here. Brake time equals 0.5s/. So that it's just a little bit looser. Now the shaft comes out to the side here, and the individual parts that are on the shaft, so the actuator levers and the plastic spacers up front. I obviously have to take those out here as well. So, with that, the actuator is disassembled. You can remember for later, this hole is where the actuator lever goes, with this long screw going through it. I'll start by disassembling the choke piston. If you have a slim 10mm open-end ring spanner, it will just barely fit in here. There's a rubber piece mounted on top here. Alternatively, you can also carefully remove the rubber piece. It can be reinstalled pretty easily later if you warm it up a little bit, like this. You have to do this 4 times in total, but for the video today, I'm just doing 1. So, that's the rubber piece, and once it's removed, you can easily, I've got my 10mm here, but you could also use a small socket, unscrew the choke piston right here. This is what it looks like, the piston with the spring and the cap on top. Let's start with the float chamber. There are 4 screws here. 1, 2, 3, 4. I really have to say, the guys at Hitachi put a bit more effort into their screws back then than the other manufacturers who made carburetors in Japan. You can see, we've got a motorcycle from 1980 here on the table, and the screws still look fantastic and aren't as soft as the others. I'm sure you know what I mean. But if you ever do have a screw head get stripped and need a solution, you'll see a video linked above on exactly that topic. So, I've already got the 4th one loosened here. If they're tough to turn, that's actually fantastic. You could even use a big flathead screwdriver. The gasket is sticking a little bit. So, the gasket definitely needs to be replaced. That's what it looks like, and now we can continue inside here with the float. The float sits on a small axle, which I push out with this pin. It's just a little pin, yeah, it acts as the axle here. And if I hold the float now, I can lift it off. The float needle valve is attached to the float, yeah. There you can see it. It's hanging here on this little metal tab and can be taken off to the front. The inlet part of the float needle valve is screwed in here in the carburetor. Please use a socket or, like me, a T-wrench for this. If you use a box end wrench here, it could happen that when loosening it, you damage the carburetor housing, meaning this holder for the float. So please, here, use a T-wrench or a socket. 10mm is the size, and there's a small sealing ring underneath here. This is what it looks like when it's disassembled. And then we have 2 more jets here that need to be unscrewed. And if you look closely at them, they look a bit different from what we're generally used to. They're very wide at the top, so you'll need a 7mm wide screwdriver for them. This here is the main jet. There's also a small washer under the main jet. So, I'll just put it here for you. There you go. And next, I'll unscrew the idle jet here. It's shaped the same way. There's no washer underneath this one. So, that's the idle jet, and then we're done on the float chamber side and we'll continue on the top. Next up is the cover above the diaphragm. These 4 screws here, 1, 2, 3, 4, are loosened and completely unscrewed. The 4 screws have been unscrewed. I'm keeping a finger or my thumb pressed here the whole time because I know there's a spring underneath. And now I'll carefully lift the cover off. This is what it looks like. This is the aforementioned spring. We can simply take it out as well. And here you can now see the diaphragm with the slide. We'll carefully take that out now, so I'll just reach in here. Please make sure not to damage the diaphragm. Once you've got it out, you can hold it up to the light and check if it's undamaged. It's sitting pretty well in its seat here. So, I'll carefully loosen it over here, and then it can be lifted out together with the slide. At the bottom of the slide sits the part load needle, and to remove it, let's take a look up here. There's a plastic element with a hex head. That's a 6mm Allen key. There's also a spring underneath, so please be careful. I'm going to unscrew it now. The spring holds the needle in position. This is the retaining element. Here we have the spring and the part load needle. Here you go. If you look into the top of the carburetor now, you'll see a metal plate, a shaped part that's fastened with a slotted screw. We're going to unscrew that now, because underneath there are actually 2 more air jets hidden. Alright, I'll fish this out with needle nose pliers. There we go. And underneath here you can see the 2 air jets I was talking about. They're in there. A very, very large one. This one here, for example, is quite large and has a big opening. It's for the idle system. And this one, with the slightly smaller opening, supplies air to the main jet's jet holder. In my opinion, this one can definitely stay in place. It can be easily flushed in the ultrasonic bath. We'll unscrew this one. I'll do that now. So, take a look. This is what it looks like. And then we can also, right down there at the very bottom, can we take a look in there, please? Yes. This part here, down here, that's the main jet's jet holder, and that can also come out. I'm going to turn the carburetor over now. In most cases, it just slides out. Yeah, that's the case here too. So, it's sitting in here. If it doesn't slide out on its own, you can, since it has threads and the main jet is screwed in there. Screw in a suitable screw and carefully push from above to press it out. This is the jet holder for the main jet. As the last step, friends, we're going to unscrew the idle mixture screw. It's located here next to the choke. Remember, first, screw it in and count the turns. Write down how many turns it had. That way, you'll have the carburetor set up as it was running before. Otherwise, I'll be happy to include the basic settings for you in the video description. I'm unscrewing the screw and using needle nose pliers to lift it out. This is what it looks like. And on the screw, there's also a spring, a washer, and an O-ring. For that, I'm using this little homemade tool to fish it out. Oh, we really got lucky that everything came out together here. I'll lay it out for you. This is the correct assembly order. First the screw, then the spring, the washer, and the O-ring. Alright, friends, that wraps up the disassembly. The assembly video is now shown and linked above. I hope you enjoyed the video and that it was helpful. I'd appreciate a thumbs up and, of course, a subscription from you. Have fun with your project, and see you in the next video.